let's jump into three-pack. Clients I'm focusing on for 2022. And so, really, in candor, I'm just going to share kind of a little bit of some of my secrets, not really secrets, just my mindset and some of my strategies as I develop business. And so, as I take a look at 2021, spent some, spent some, you need a microphone. Spent some time just kind of, it's a three-pack shot.
Oh, there we go. That's right. I forgot.
We've been doing this for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But just really taking inventory on where businesses come from. COVID was just crazy in the sense of not only were we busy, but just where business came from and things that I hadn't followed and so forth. So the first one for me, and I think every agent should really pay attention to these, but we're really focusing and spending a lot of time on short-term rental investors. There is a huge market for Airbnbs and VRBOs, and there's a huge market for the higher price point ones, the 4 and 5 bedroom homes, 4,000 square feet in Scottsdale, which is really nice when you get a hold of those investors and they want to get into the short-term rental, industry or market there. You're talking about higher price points. The smaller 3-bedroom homes, they're oversaturated, but the higher end homes, when it comes down to short-term rentals, is not saturated. And I think there's a huge market, and we're going to talk about it with Rick in a little bit about just understanding HOAs. And there's a lot of nuances when you're working with an investor who wants to buy short-term rentals, but Super Bowl 2023 is going to be in Phoenix.
Yes, it is.
So that is part of when we're talking with investors and we're talking about short-term rentals. They get really excited about the idea, and then in their mind they're like, okay, we got to get into something. We got to get this thing set up. But there's a lot that goes into buying an Airbnb. Our team has gotten into actually short-term rental property management and become very fluent. We have a lady on our team that this is just all she does. But one of the things, if you're going to do it, there's a great website out there. It's AirDNA, and it's not airdna.com. It's something different, but just Google AirDNA, and you can pop in an address. And you can customize the fields as far as how many bedrooms, how many people, and you can adjust those things. And it'll give you an estimate of what you could expect to gross in any given year it'll give you the vacancy rates. It'll give you the cap rates, which we're going to talk about in a minute, because I'm just curious on how many agents can actually put together a cap rate. But the theme for me for 2022 is investors. And if you are going to work with investors, you better know how to put together cap rates.
Let's look at this you can look at it from a different perspective as well. And what that is you can go and find new buyers and new sellers. Or you can pick up the phone and call and have a conversation with people that you already know, that you've already potentially sold houses to, that although they may not be looking for a single-family residential owner-occupant home this coming year, they are more than likely, with all of the news media, Mike. My gosh, you and I have been dealing with the investment side of residential homes for 20-something years now. And it really,
old.
I know, it works well, though, because if you think about it, even all of your investors, most of your investors, are interested in acquiring residential property. They've at least heard about it by their stock market investors or their brokers, or even friends or family say, yeah. And then they hear about this Airbnb thing and they're like, Mike, what the heck is that? What's that all about? But the point, I guess, is for me right now is have a conversation with the people you already know. Don't worry about having to go out and recreate the wheel. Just bring them some additional information. And if you don't know it, reach out to Mike Weinstein and find out more about that market, or Mike Duville, or somebody who knows the creative side of real estate investing.
And I would also say, we talked about it a few weeks back. Okay, here's what I know. There's 80,000 licensed real estate agents in the state of Arizona. Nobody wants to talk to a real estate agent. Nobody wants to talk to a realtor, but everybody wants to talk real estate. And we talk about picking up the phone and having real estate conversations with people. And this is great, but make sure you know what you're talking about.
Amen.
All right. Number 2 is I'm focusing on long-term rental investors. There is still a mass need for rental properties. We are nowhere close to meeting the demand. So especially, and for me, long-term rentals is a long-term investment play. So there's different ways to, take a look at numbers, take a look at price, and for me, if I'm hanging on to a home for 5 to 7 years, whatever the case is, and I gotta pay X amount of dollars above appraisal, it might be worth it long term. It's a different mindset. But for us, one of the things that we do on our team, and one of the things that I specifically do, I go on every listing appointment trying to talk my sellers out of selling. One, it establishes trust. Mm-hmm. Two, a lot of them end up wanting to sell. I never have to have conversations about co-brokes or anything because we've had such a great conversation about what their house would look like as turning it into a rental property and then going out and buying something, which we get to represent on the buy side. There's just this assumption out there that if I'm going to buy a house, I'm supposed to sell my house. Mm-hmm. And nobody really is, not say no one. There's not a lot of conversations with sellers about what options do you have on the table. But you got to know the long-term market forecast. You've got to be able to have those conversations. You've got to be able to combat that. Well, I'm waiting for the market to crash. Well, the market's not going to crash. Okay, well, why? But you got to be able to explain things and so forth, and then know how to prepare a cap rate. One of the things that we do, and I know people are going, I think I saw cap rate when I took my test 20 years ago or 15 years ago. But one of the things that we do when we go on a listing appointment, we show up with not only the cap rate to their property, because that'll give them a good glimpse of, does my house make sense as a rental property? But we also bring, a rent pro forma. This is how your house can perform as a rental property. And I'm telling you, you talk somebody out of selling their house, turn it into a rental, they buy another one. You know what they do in 2 years? They buy another rental. Absolutely. And then they buy another rental, and then they buy another rental from you.
This long-term hold game is the investment game. This is what real estate investment has been for decades. It's been the long-term hold. You could pay retail for a home, and you can invest in it. You can have people rent it out, and somewhere between, who knows, 15 to 20 years later, 21 years later, with some biweekly payments and maybe some additional payments made to principal, you've paid this house. Well, let me rephrase that. Let me make sure I'm clear and have rephrased this. And your tenant has paid your mortgage off for you.
We call that the real estate 401k program.
Yeah, well, but most people don't have a lot of people don't have a 401k. And if you don't have a huge savings, historically homes have been the lifesaver and the investment 401k, if you would, of people when they get to retirement.
I had a listing about 2 months ago, and the buyer's agent, basically it was a hedge fund coming to buy the home. And I've had a really candid conversation. It'll be cash, quick close. They were going to pay $10,000 over my other highest offer and $10,000 to $15,000 over what we all knew it would appraise for. And he goes, doesn't matter. They're planning on hanging on to this house for a very long time and put renters in there. So, all right. Third thing is past clients. COVID kept a lot of us busy. But after we've closed on a lot of clients, our clients are still staying at home. There wasn't that time. And one, we were busy, but two, people just weren't comfortable enough. Well, now for the most part, people are comfortable. Now, people are comfortable with having people in their homes. I am not, and I've talked about this so many times, I am not a housewarming gift type guy. I am a housewarming event type guy. And so we've gone back and said, okay, over the last 18 months, these are all of our clients. And now we're going back and saying, okay, it's going to cost us a lot of money, but we're now starting to schedule and plan our housewarming parties. And we have a very specific strategy on how we do it that's going to, pay a higher dividend when it comes down to getting more clients out these housewarming events. But my partner, Ryan Gertis, and I, we have in the last three months, we've done 3 of these. And of those 3, we walked out with five deals just because of our strategies and how we do it. So I am focusing on all the past clients and then pop-ins. This is the other one of our secrets that we do. I don't every 6 months, I show up to my client's house.
with the cap rate. And here is how your house has performed over the last 6 months. And if we were to rent it today, this is what it would look like. And let's start talking about where are we at with saving for house number 2 or house number 3. So it's just, just picking up, it boggles my mind, Todd, and I know I'm going to offend people. Calling someone on their 12-month house anniversary to wish them a happy house anniversary. What are you doing? My insurance agent, my life insurance agent, comes to my house every single year, has a cup of coffee in my kitchen with my wife and I. He's seen our kids born and raised and so forth. We would never go anywhere else. You need to meet with your clients a minimum of once a year, twice a year, is better. And don't be afraid to ask for the business.
Yeah, of course. This is, we started the conversation off today with, also look back at your past clients. Don't reinvent the wheel. But again, if you haven't, NAR statistics haven't changed. I mean, they've said for decades now, at least I can remember since the early 90s. But going back that far, I can remember NAR telling us, you need to stay in touch with your clients. If you stay in touch with your clients, you're going to get, every client's going to meet 5 people a year that are ready, willing, and able to buy homes. And if you don't have that kind of relationship with people, you're not going to get an opportunity at those particular 5 people. So why not make 2022 be a very, very smart year?
And and emailing them a what's going on in the community this month flyer through your CRM. That's lazy.
Yeah.
Pick up the phone, call your clients, go see your clients. That's how we did it. Remember when we couldn't text,
right?
And we didn't have emails?
I know it. It's, if anything, this maybe, Mike, is the time that we can say, listen, go buy that book. Buy The 7 Levels of Communication by Michael Mayer. It's all about these topics. And once you realize that the way to the gold through your consumer's pocket is by having a verbal face-to-face conversation with people, it's going to change your world.
All right, that's our